Welcome to the In All Things podcast. Here, we talk about everything from friendship and personalities to contentment and faith. Our goal? To encourage you to seek Christ in all things. Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Sierra. Let's imagine you're in my living room and dive into real conversation. Well, hello, everybody. I am here recording this episode with our very first guest, my friend Lydia.
Hello.
Lydia is one of my closest friends, and we've known each other since we were about 8. So we grew up in the same area, have very similar backgrounds, and we have a lot of things in common even now. And one of those things is singleness. So we talk about singleness all the time because we're both in that season and neither of us have ever been in a relationship before. So we're always processing frustrations and hurts and trying to encourage each other as much as possible. And I wanted to bring her on and just have a conversation with her about singleness and how we can stay positive and living for the Lord during this time. And if you're not single, you're still welcome to listen in because you never know what you might learn or how you can encourage the single people in your life. So just to get started, Lydia, you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I'm an outdoor junkie. I love fishing. I'm a nerd when it comes to archery, investing, and country music. Mexican is my all-time favorite cuisine. And I'm often found with my camera in hand making a fool of myself as I'll break into song and dance at any given moment.
I have witnessed this. It's true. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
In my little living room kitchen studio.
I like it.
Let's just start out with all the good stuff. What is 1 or 2 or 5 positives, things about being single?
Positives about being single. Having your own time for sure. Having time to invest into family and friends that you have, just the relationships, I'd say.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like being in complete control of your own schedule, kind of a control freak if nobody knew that. So I like having that control.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice. How about in your experience, what is one of the hardest things about being single?
One of the hardest things about being single is probably for me not having that other person just to bounce ideas off of and seek advice, both working in the same direction, same goals in mind together. Also, just someone to do life with as well. I think it's hard. Yeah.
Do you ever find that it's hard to make these big adult decisions that we're now making without a partner?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for my dad and my mom to be able to bounce ideas off of them.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's definitely difficult.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I find hard.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could tell yourself something 5 years ago, what would it be? And we'd be 20. 5 years ago, we'd be 20. So what would you tell yourself?
Looking back at my 20-year-old self, I'd probably tell myself to focus on here and the now and not what I hope would happen, like getting married and having a family. Yeah. Just to truly love where you're at and to enjoy all there is and be grateful for it in the seasons of life that you're going through. Probably make more decisions based on what God has as your calling. Focus a little bit more on your calling and not what you hope and think should be your calling.
Yeah.
Just lean into the Lord
For
more.
sure.
How about you?
I would say, to be honest, I'd probably tell myself that at 26, you'd still be single. Because I just think that all my life I was hoping so much for marriage and I made decisions based off that desire. And I don't think that's completely bad, but I just think that looking back, I would have made different decisions had I known that at this point in my life, I still would have been single.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would have told myself to just do it, not to sound like Nike or anything, but just just to do it, buy the house, go on the vacation with friends, whatever. Just enjoy single life, right. Not like hoping for marriage in the next year or two or whatever, and just to
For sure.
lean in on the Lord's plan and know that his plan is always better.
Always better.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of Isaiah, and I've been really dwelling on this, is like when he says that my ways are higher than your ways and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts.
Absolutely. One other thing I would have probably told myself is just be picky with your friends. Invest into those relationships. No matter how strong you think you are, you do become who you are around and what you place yourself in. It's good to have diversity in friends, but who are we spending the most time with, and who do we want our life to reflect?
Yeah.
So just be picky about your friends and spend time around the friends that you want to be like.
Who's your inner circle, basically?
Yeah. Really focus in on that.
That's awesome. That's great. So that brings a great segue into a new question of like, what are some ways that single friends can encourage one another during this time?
The biggest thing I think is just to be there for them, like be there with each other, do things together, have fun.
Yeah.
Like that's simple but easy, just have fun, enjoy it. And also have that person that you like that can call you out.
Yeah. For sure.
Like when you're like, for me, if I'm being too busy, like I need that friend to be like, slow down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think of when you and I did that month of praying for each other. We set it in our calendars and we just dedicated that time. And obviously I still pray for you even after that month. But it was just this dedicated period of time that we were praying for each other because we were both kind of discouraged that in that particular month.
Yeah. No, that was super good. Like we legit set alarms on our phone to like pray for each other. And like you tell people you're going to pray for them and then you forget. So like to actually set an alarm and be like, oh, it's 8:00. I got to pray for Sierra was super good. And to know that Sierra is also doing the same for me was huge.
Yeah. And then another thing is that's a good idea is to like share what you're learning in the journey, because then that can be a point of encouragement to other singles as well. And then it also doesn't focus so much as on the discouraging parts that do happen, but you're able to stay some positive too. So
yeah, for sure. What are a few things that you've been learning recently?
Yeah. The most recent lesson that I've been learning came from kind of a couple different people within a course of a few days. And it's really just learning to live day by day and not get caught up in the future. And my small group at church is going through a Bible study that's talking about releasing control over your life, which obviously I need, as I've already mentioned. But this lady was like using an example of when you're performing, if you're, playing an instrument in an orchestra or something, you go out on stage and you're nervous and you're excited, but you just kind of get lost in the song. And that was really what stood out to me, was like getting lost in the song, that I should not be paying attention to what is, what's on the next page of the music. I need to be paying attention to what I'm currently playing, or I'm going to mess up. And just getting lost in the song and just enjoying life with where you are, because God has you here for some reason and we don't know what that is.
Yeah,
trust me,
absolutely.
I have not figured that one out yet. But yeah, how about you? What have you learned recently?
I'd say for me, I've been learning just to do it, not to just wait around and hope that everything's going to pan out.
Yeah.
I already kind of said that, but just go for it. Just do it. Buy the house. Just do it.
Yeah. Awesome. So we just talked about, some ways that single friends can encourage each other better. What are some ways that your married friends have been encouraging to you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just when they welcome you into their house, their homes, and with their families, to just do life with them, to be around the little kiddos and stuff, and just see how they work through conflict and just be open and honest about what they're going through.
Sure.
Probably the biggest thing. Yeah. How about for you?
Honestly, I would say the same. I have a couple friends that do that very, very well. And they've just welcomed me into their home and let me just, have dinner with them and hang out with their kids and go to birthday parties and stuff like that. And that's really special. to be a part of that.
Yes, I love the little kid birthday parties.
Yes.
More than adult birthday parties. Like, I'm a child.
Way more fun.
Way more fun. Yes. One thing is married friends can often give us formulas on how to get married or find someone. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I've heard a lot of formulas, and I'm just going to say none of them have worked. So
we're still single.
I mean, we appreciate the gesture, but
yes,
it kind of gets to be a bit much sometimes.
Yeah.
One other thing is, okay, a lot of you have single friends that you say are so great,
yes.
or, oh, you'd be so good with them.
Yeah.
You say that, but actually introduce us to them.
I was going to say, where are they? Come on.
I'm just saying. I appreciate you letting me know about them, but I would kind of like to meet them, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Getting set up isn't too terribly awkward. It can be. But just,
yeah.
If someone wants to, just introduce them.
Yeah. If you're married, ask first, probably. Ask your single friends, hey, do you want to meet this person? Because I think you guys would be great together. And if you're single and you want to be set up, that's not always assumed about somebody. So tell all of your friends, married or not, that everyone that you want to be set up, because I have like a whole team that at least knows they're not doing so great, but from my best friends to my manager at work, I mean, they've got it. They have got their marching orders.
Yes.
One other thing that I would add, and this kind of goes back to the formula that you mentioned, but I've had so many people, not just married people, honestly, but so many people say, Sierra, it'll happen, I promise. And that is so hard, because the thing is that's not something that you can promise, and it's not even something I can promise. It's only something that comes from God. And God honestly doesn't promise marriage. And so it kind of just feels like a Band-Aid more than
an encouragement.
An encouragement, yeah. Because that's not something that you can make happen.
Right.
So another thing I've been thinking about is, how can the church do better when addressing singles and singleness?
Yes. I would say mixed groups. Let's not do only single groups. It's nice to get a little variety in there.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like being involved with people of different stages, and having married friends and being a part of their lives, is because you get to learn so much from people at every stage of life. And when you just surround yourself with single people, yes, you can still learn from them, but probably generally not as much as when you are surrounding yourself with multi-generations or multi-stages.
Just to encourage us where we're at, not where you think we should be at, instead of looking at marriage as an end goal.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, encourage us where we are, instead of like, oh, once you are married, or
right.
This applies to everyone at some point,
Yeah.
It gets hard.
Yes, for sure. I know. I've often heard sermons about that where people, where the pastor is insinuating that marriage is just a higher degree of serving the Lord, They talk about ministries being able to be doubled, which obviously if you have two people, yes, of course, but it's always looked at that way. And the thing is we can, as singles, we can still serve the church in big, big ways. And God calls some people to singleness, and maybe it's even just for a season, but it doesn't mean that we don't have as high a calling as those who are married. So I kind of want to circle back to what Lydia mentioned earlier about sometimes being given a specific formula of how to be content or how to find a spouse. And sometimes those include things like, use this time to seek Christ and volunteer with your church or in your community, invest in friendships. And I want to affirm that yes, that is absolutely true, and we should be doing all of those things. But one thing that I've learned that nobody has told me is that use this time to learn from other people And I kind of already touched on this a little bit too, but be friends with wives and moms and learn from them. Because so many of my friends are married and have kids, and I am blessed to be able to be learning from them as they go, from how to handle conflict in a marriage, like how to be healthy when you're pregnant, how to discipline a 4-year-old. I have the privilege of learning what to do and what not to do, and I'm not going to be perfect when those seasons come in my life, but I'm going to be able to look back and be like, okay, I actually spent time learning from other people in these areas.
Mm-hmm. And you've been around those people, so if you have questions, you can ask them. You can talk to them about it.
Absolutely.
For sure. I agree with all of that.
So have you learned any ways that you can invest yourself during this time of singleness?
Yeah, I'd say, there's so many ways to invest. Invest time into relationships with your friends that you have. Make friends. And yeah, just take the time to be there with them, for them, around them. Single friends, married friends, all of them. Just also set goals and go at them. Just go at them like a wild horse. Like, just go at them. And everybody has things that they've wanted to learn. Take time to actually do those. Like, when else are you going to do it? Just do it. For myself, I've wanted to take guitar lessons for a long time, so I just started doing that this year. Yeah.
Cool. So, Lydia, do you ever feel discouraged about being single?
Oh, for sure. So if there was like an eternally single option on Facebook, that would be mine. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Same.
That's how I feel at times.
Yeah.
But when I get down, just like, cue the cheesy Hallmark movies, grab the cup of coffee, ice cream, chocolate, and just sit there and wallow in my own sadness.
Yeah.
No. In all seriousness, I notice when I just pack my schedule with stuff and things to do, like my day will look like getting up, go feed the horses, work, Instacart, archery league, help with youth group, run to the gym, and then after that I get home like at 10, go to bed, and I do that day in and day out. On weekends I'll just plan trips like crazy just to get out of town. When I see this happening, it's generally because I'm down or sad or unhappy, just depressed kind of, because of being single. Just try to find things to occupy my mind, I guess. I didn't always see it that way, but that's when it's good to like have the friends around you to like redirect your focus, keep you focused on the Lord and your calling, and just tell you to slow down sometimes. Keep those friends and have good accountability partners. It's important to be aware of your tendencies of when you start seeing things like that in your friends as well, just to keep accountable. Yeah,
I was going to say that's so important that you even recognize that in yourself, because then you're able to, when you see it happening, you can do something about it and surround yourself with people, or I don't know, do something different then.
Yeah.
I do want to add that I am kind of the opinion that it's okay to sometimes be sad about your singleness or sad about anything. The important thing though is to not dwell there and not wallow. And so I think it's okay to just recognize, specifically for me, I've, just acknowledged the fact that, okay, my life looks significantly different right now than I ever thought it would. So it's okay to acknowledge that, but just don't dwell there. Don't dwell in that sadness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's go back to positivity. What are some things that if you got married tomorrow, you would be glad that you did or learned before marriage?
Oh, for sure. I would say the biggest thing was missions, taking that time to do missions. I did it with YWAM, so I had 3 months of discipleship training in Orlando, and then I spent 2 months over in Algeria and Turkey. I just honestly loved seeing a different culture, being able to spend time and do missions and see other parts of the world, and learning through the culture and that experience and the people that you're around. That was huge.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would say for me, one thing would be that I graduated college early. and I was able to do that. And then the other thing would be similar. I didn't go through YWAM, but I did do a 6-month mission trip to the Caribbean, and I lived in Haiti, Jamaica, and Belize. And I am so glad that I did that, because that would not have been something I could have done while I was married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just to wrap it up, do you have any last tips for our listeners?
I think the biggest thing is focusing on what your calling is. Like, get that nailed down. Like, you know, it changes, yes, for different seasons and such, but know what that is and focus on learning those things. To read books on that, listen to podcasts about it, and just learn to grow in those areas. Find people, groups with similar callings, organizations that you can focus in on those areas. When you're passionate about it, you can actually be passionate about it. So just focus on your calling is what I'd say.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing that I just want to leave with you today is to remember that no matter what, if you get married next year, God is so good. But if you're still single next year, or in 5 years, or in 10 years, God is still good, and he has a plan for you. And I know that that kind of sounds really cliche, but just embracing that and learning to kind of get lost in the song, as I mentioned, he is so good. And I just hope that you remember that. So thanks, Lydia, so much for being on today.
Anytime.
Awesome. And everybody, I hope that this was encouraging to you, and you have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode. I am so glad to have had this conversation with you. I am praying that this episode was encouraging, and if it was, please consider leaving a review. This show is just getting started, and we would love to bring more people into our conversation. Sharing it with your friends and leaving a review is a great way to do that. See you next time.
Hi, I'm Lydia. I'm 25. I enjoy long walks in green grassy prairies at sunset with cows off into the distance, romantic campfires, and trail rides on horseback. Oh, I thought this was the interview for the new Christian version of The Bachelor called Jesus Lovers Seeking Lovers.
That's fantastic.
But in all seriousness, I'm 25, was single, still single, and I continue to be single. So if you're looking to be single, you've come to the right place.